When the rising sun is obscured, the deep structural illness and the great reconstruction of Japan's economy. During the 1980s, the world looked toward Tokyo with a mixture of awe and respect. Powerful industrial giants such as Sony, Toyota, Panasonic, and Toshiba swept across global markets, establishing a new gold standard for product quality and corporate management. This wave helped create an era that Western macroeconomic scholars respectfully called the East Asian economic miracle. At the time, leading research centers on Wall Street and in London even produced quantitative forecasts suggesting that Japan's GDP would soon surpass that of the United States, making it the largest economy on Earth. The rapid rise of the Japanese yen, combined with the enormous wealth accumulated through trade surpluses, created the impression of an unbeatable industrial kingdom. Today, however, that dazzling glory has faded into history, replaced by a quieter and far more challenging reality. Major news organizations such as Reuters, Bloomberg, and the Financial Times simultaneously reported a landmark development. Japan has officially lost its position as the world's third largest economy to Germany. This decline is not merely a short-term technical fluctuation caused by the yen's depreciation against the US dollar. Rather, it is the clearest indication of the inevitable consequences of chronic structural problems that have gradually eroded Japan's economy throughout more than 3 decades of stagnation. From the perspective of international financial analysts, the decline of a former economic superpower does not occur suddenly after a single financial crisis. Instead, it is a slow but comprehensive process of erosion rooted in unfavorable demographics, rigidity in technological thinking, and fierce competition from emerging powers across East Asia. To understand why a giant that once reshaped the global trade landscape has fallen behind, one must first examine the most alarming macroeconomic time bomb Japan faces today: its severe aging population crisis. In both classical and modern economic theory, sustainable growth is built upon 2 fundamental pillars: the size of the labor force and the rate of productivity improvement. Looking at Japan, it is clear that the country is experiencing a profound crisis in the first pillar. Official demographic data released by Japan's Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications shows that the country has one of the highest aging rates in the world, with more than 29% of its population now over the age of 65. At the same time, the birth rate continues to hit record lows year after year, causing Japan's total population to shrink by roughly 800,000 people annually. This demographic shift toward an inverted population pyramid has created a devastating double burden on the domestic economy. First, the continuous contraction of the prime working age population has left Japanese businesses struggling with severe labor shortages across industries, from labor-intensive manufacturing to high-skilled service and technology sectors. Without enough workers to operate production lines and sustain business activities, companies cannot expand, directly limiting the country's long-term GDP growth potential. More dangerously, this trend contributes to a phenomenon economists describe as the low consumption trap or deflationary spiral. As the population mixture shifts heavily toward older age groups, consumer behavior changes dramatically. Elderly citizens tend to spend cautiously, preferring to hold cash or maintain savings for healthcare and retirement needs rather than purchasing new products and services. The persistent weakening of domestic demand, which accounts for more than half of Japan's GDP structure, has trapped the economy in prolonged stagnation, suppressing price growth and discouraging private sector investment. Beyond the challenges posed by declining consumption and labor supply, an aging population also places an enormous fiscal burden on the Japanese government. Healthcare costs, elder care services, and pension expenditures continue to rise exponentially as they serve nearly 1/3 of the population. To finance these expanding social welfare obligations while tax revenues from younger workers shrink, Tokyo has had little choice but to issue increasing amounts of government debt. As a result, Japan's public debt has reached record levels, exceeding 260% of GDP, according to monitoring reports from the International Monetary Fund. Although most of this debt is held domestically and denominated in local currency, helping Japan avoid sovereign debt crises like the one experienced by Greece, the sheer size of the debt has severely constrained fiscal policy. The government now has limited room to invest heavily in strategic infrastructure projects or future-oriented technological industries. While the domestic economy struggles to escape demographic decline and deflation, the international landscape has changed dramatically due to the rapid rise of China and South Korea. Japan once dominated global markets through superior industrial production, strict quality control, and exceptional cost optimization achieved through management philosophies such as Kaizen and just-in-time manufacturing. However, according to The Economist, the transition from the age of precision engineering to the era of digital technology and the internet exposed a surprising weakness among Japan's technology champions. Slow and conservative digital transformation caused many of the country's leading corporations to lose their core competitive advantages to neighboring Asian rivals. The semiconductor and advanced electronics industries offer a striking example. In the 1980s, Japan held an overwhelming share of the global semiconductor market. Today, however, domestic firms have fallen far behind South Korea's Samsung and Taiwan's TSMC. Excessive confidence in past achievements and delayed investment in cutting-edge manufacturing processes caused Japan to lose control of critical memory chip and advanced processor supply chains. A similar story unfolded in consumer electronics and mobile devices. Brands that once dominated living rooms around the world, such as Sony and Toshiba, gradually lost ground to innovative, competitively priced products from South Korean firms and Chinese technology companies such as Xiaomi, Huawei, and Oppo. Perhaps the most concerning challenge is occurring within the automotive industry, long considered Japan's final economic fortress and greatest source of industrial pride. Japanese automakers, led by Toyota, achieved tremendous success through hybrid technology, particularly with the iconic Prius. Hybrid vehicles offered an ideal fuel-efficient solution for a previous era. Yet this very success may have blinded industry leaders. Many remained skeptical of the shift toward fully battery-powered electric vehicles and were slow to commit substantial investment to the EV revolution. This hesitation created an ideal opening for Tesla, and more significantly, BYD and other Chinese electric vehicle manufacturers to surge ahead and capture critical market segments, ranging from budget models to premium offerings. Today, China has not only surpassed Japan as the world's largest automobile exporter by volume, but it also controls a comprehensive electric vehicle battery supply chain, from upstream raw materials to downstream manufacturing. Japanese automakers now face an expensive and difficult race to defend their market share. The root cause of this challenge extends beyond technology itself. It is deeply connected to Japan's unique corporate culture and management philosophy. The traditional keiretsu system, which once helped corporations support one another and thrive during the 20th century, has increasingly become a constraint on innovation. A management culture that prioritizes safety, avoids mistakes, and relies on multi-layered, consensus-based decision-making often sacrifices speed and agility. While competitors are willing to take risks, experiment continuously, and accept failure in pursuit of breakthrough business models, Japanese corporations frequently spend too much time discussing and refining existing strengths. As a result, they have repeatedly missed major technological revolutions that reshaped the global economy. Recognizing the seriousness of these threats and the risk of being pushed to the margins of the global economy, Japan's government and financial elite have refused to surrender. They are aggressively implementing some of the most ambitious economic reforms in modern Japanese history. Nikkei Asia has described these efforts as a battle for survival, aimed at rebuilding the country's economic foundations. The first major gamble in this reconstruction strategy is the determination to regain a leading position in semiconductors and artificial intelligence. Tokyo understands that semiconductors are the lifeblood of the future digital economy, and that complete dependence on external suppliers represents an unacceptable economic security risk. The Japanese government has approved tens of billions of dollars in subsidies to support Rapidus, a domestic semiconductor alliance with the ambitious goal of mass-producing advanced 2-nanometer chips in the coming years. At the same time, Japan has introduced generous incentives to attract TSMC to build advanced semiconductor fabrication facilities in Kumamoto Prefecture. These projects aim to create a powerful industrial ecosystem capable of attracting investment and bringing top engineering talent back to Japan. Alongside technological revitalization, Japan is also undertaking a profound transformation of its traditionally conservative immigration policies. Faced with labor shortages that threaten the survival of key industries, Tokyo has increasingly opened its doors to foreign workers. For the first time in history, the number of foreign workers in Japan has exceeded 2 million, reflecting a major shift in societal attitudes. Long-term visa programs, particularly the specified skilled worker system, have been expanded to cover more industries, loosen eligibility requirements, and allow workers to bring family members for long-term settlement. This represents a remarkable cultural transformation for a nation that has historically emphasized ethnic and cultural homogeneity. It demonstrates that when confronted with fundamental economic survival challenges, Japan is willing to reconsider even its most deeply rooted traditions. From the perspective of a financial analyst, one important point must be emphasized. Japan is not actually becoming poor. Living standards remain among the highest in the world, and its infrastructure continues to rank among the safest and most advanced globally. What has truly happened is that Japan's growth has slowed dramatically, while other economies have expanded at a much faster pace. Tokyo's story is therefore not merely Japan's problem. It serves as a powerful lesson for every nation. Spectacular success and effective growth models from the past can never guarantee future leadership if a country lacks the courage to continually reinvent itself. Although Japan may no longer be the rapidly expanding economic giant of the 20th century, it still possesses extraordinary strengths: a solid scientific foundation, enormous overseas net assets, and a comprehensive restructuring effort that is being pursued with determination. Quietly and steadily, Japan is redefining its role in the world economy, not as a fast-growing powerhouse, but as a mature, stable, and resilient force in an increasingly uncertain global order. Japan's race for survival, escaping the demographic quagmire, and mastering the art of responding to Asian competition. Japan's economy stands at a historic turning point where the glories of the last century can no longer conceal the deep structural cracks beneath the surface. After losing its position as the world's third-largest economy to Germany, Tokyo faces not only internal challenges, but also an unprecedented geopolitical and geoeconomic reality. Surrounding the island nation is the rapid rise of three semiconductor powerhouses: China, South Korea, and Taiwan, while just behind them comes the growing momentum of emerging Southeast Asian economies. To avoid being pushed into the shadows of history, Japan must undertake a comprehensive transformation, changing everything from demographic policy to strategic thinking in response to increasingly formidable competitors. The starting point for any effort to rescue Japan's economy must be a direct confrontation with its demographic crisis, which the government itself has acknowledged as a silent national security emergency. Recent statistics released by Japan's Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare delivered a severe blow to previous projections. The number of children born in Japan fell to a record low of just over 671,000, marking the 10th consecutive annual decline. More alarming is the fact that national Social Security research institutions had previously forecast such birth levels would not be reached until the 2040s. In other words, the population decline is occurring 15 years faster than expected. With the total fertility rate dropping to 1.14 and Tokyo itself falling below the threshold of 1.0, Japan's social structure is shrinking at a breathtaking pace. Deaths now exceed births by nearly 1 million people annually. This labor shortage is no longer a theoretical concern. It is visible throughout the economy, with unemployment consistently hovering around 2.5%, reflecting an extraordinarily tight labor market. To address this crisis, Japan's most urgent and practical short to medium-term solution is to boldly open its doors to foreign workers. Tokyo must move away from viewing international labor as a temporary resource, and instead embrace a long-term immigration strategy that treats foreign workers as an essential component of economic sustainability. The number of foreign workers in Japan has already surpassed 2 million, but this figure will likely need to double over the next decade to offset the retirement of millions of domestic workers. Fundamental reforms to the specified skilled worker visa system, including allowing immigrants to bring family members and creating pathways to permanent residency, are no longer optional. They are necessary. At the same time, Japanese companies must reform their corporate cultures, eliminate income disparities between local and foreign employees, and create a multicultural, inclusive environment capable of competing globally for talent. However, immigration alone is only a temporary solution. The long-term foundation for Japan's economic revival lies in dramatically increasing productivity through the widespread deployment of artificial intelligence and automation. Japan possesses a unique advantage that labor-abundant nations often lack: broad social acceptance of robots and AI. In Japan, technology is not seen as replacing workers, but rather as filling positions that increasingly have no human successors. The government must fully implement its strategy of investing more than 370 trillion into 17 strategic technology sectors by 2040, with particular focus on service robotics, autonomous vehicles, and AI-powered precision manufacturing. Pilot programs in agriculture and logistics have already demonstrated that AI can reduce human labor hours by as much as 95% while maintaining output levels. Scaling these technologies across the economy could potentially double national productivity, fully compensating for population decline. Alongside this internal transformation, Japan must develop a sophisticated strategy to defend itself against the East Asian semiconductor triumvirate of South Korea, China, and Taiwan. In the past, Japan made a strategic mistake by surrendering semiconductor leadership to South Korea's Samsung and Taiwan's TSMC through slow investment and closed-minded thinking. Today, Japan is pursuing a two-pronged strategy. On one hand, it is attracting global leaders such as TSMC to establish major manufacturing facilities in Kumamoto, strengthening domestic supply chains. On the other, it is providing extensive support to the domestic semiconductor alliance Rapidus with the goal of leapfrogging directly into 2-nanometer chip production. Japan understands that it cannot outproduce China in terms of scale, nor surpass Taiwan in mass manufacturing expertise. However, it still controls one of the most critical arteries of the semiconductor industry: specialized semiconductor materials, advanced chemicals, and precision manufacturing equipment. By maintaining technological superiority and continuously raising barriers to entry in these upstream segments, Japan can create strategic leverage that encourages cooperation and interdependence rather than direct confrontation with competitors such as South Korea and Taiwan. China's challenge extends far beyond consumer electronics. It has now reached Japan's final industrial stronghold, the automotive industry. The rise of Chinese electric vehicle manufacturers, particularly BYD, has placed iconic brands such as Toyota and Honda in an increasingly defensive position. To respond effectively, Japan cannot continue relying solely on traditional hybrid technology or attempt to compete with Chinese EVs on price. The smarter strategy is to capitalize on Japan's strengths in reliability, engineering precision, and brand trust by deeply integrating artificial intelligence and intelligent operating systems into vehicles, transforming automobiles into exceptionally safe and intelligent mobility platforms. At the same time, Japan must accelerate the commercialization of solid-state batteries, a revolutionary technology in which Japanese companies hold a leading share of global patents. Success in this field could fundamentally reshape the battery supply chain currently dominated by China. Another emerging challenge comes from Southeast Asia, particularly countries such as Vietnam, Indonesia, and Malaysia. These nations are no longer merely low-cost manufacturing bases for Japanese corporations. They are rapidly moving up the value chain, attracting high-tech foreign direct investment, and becoming independent production centers capable of competing directly with Japan's mid-level manufacturing sector. In response, Tokyo must shift from a traditional development assistance mindset toward a strategy of deep economic symbiosis. Labor-intensive and lower-value production activities should increasingly be relocated to Southeast Asia, while these countries become integral components of a diversified supply chain designed to reduce dependence on China. By retaining research and development, architectural design, and financial management functions in Tokyo, While distributing manufacturing capacity across the young and dynamic economies of Southeast Asia, Japan can simultaneously reduce domestic labor pressures and create a resilient economic buffer. This approach would also align the long-term interests of emerging Southeast Asian economies with Japan's own development trajectory. Looking at the broader picture, Japan's path out of stagnation leaves no room for half measures or nostalgia for the past. The nation stands before what may be its final opportunity to redefine its strength for the 21st century. Through controlled immigration policies that stabilize the workforce, aggressive adoption of AI and robotics to drive productivity, and a sophisticated geo-economic strategy that balances competition and cooperation with East Asian and Southeast Asian rivals, Japan can overcome its demographic crisis. The land of the rising sun may never again be a high-growth giant powered by sheer population size. Yet it has the potential to reinvent itself as one of the world's smartest, most efficient, and most resilient economic powers, capable of weathering any storm in an increasingly uncertain age. This video provides a vivid and insightful real-world perspective on Japan's record-low birth rate, helping viewers better understand the urgency of the demographic crisis discussed throughout this article.